Thanks to the Cooper Gallery for inviting me to come along, to Sophia and Cicely and Alison for having me here. So I'm going to read, is this too loud? It's okay. I'm going to read an extract of a text, a sort of evolving text that I've been writing over the past 6 months. Sort of like a scene from, I guess, what I'm currently calling a science fiction. And you'll see in the sort of handout, it's got a sort of outline of this thing called the Sphere, which is maybe a sort of general title that I've been using for it. It's footnoted, so I'll try and make the footnotes quite clear because there's footnotes within footnotes. But I'll just sort of go through it and hopefully it's quite clear. So it's called Taxi Scene. A child, aged 8 or 9, travels along West Street towards Battery Park. Footnote 1 opens. Retracing the most logical route along West Street towards Battery Park, Google Maps shows the outline of the former World Trade Center 1 and 2 in their current guise as a memorial to the events of 9/11. The street, West Street, doesn't really curve, but I feel it curves. The towers wrapping themselves around the window, the child mediated by glass and memory. The rear passenger window of a taxi frames their body on the inside and the mass on the outside. A curve, a movement around, neck arched, pulling back of the skull, a sharp articulation of their fragile spine, straining to see the whole mass. Steel and glass puncture the top of the window, continuing infinitely beyond the field of view. They feel the movement around, the body curving, moving towards and away, the static tower stationary, a distant mass like the sun or moon, never changing position. It's early March. The morning spring air is particularly fresh, with a cold mist rolling in off the river. The taxi pulls up to the entrance of the vast plaza that flanks the two towers, a minimal space made of fine stone with steps and planters doubling as seating. Hundreds of bodies swarm through the plaza, choreographed movements of silent complicity to and from places of work, from subway to towers of commerce and power. Footnote 2 on power. I'm going to read a lovely quote from Allen Ginsberg's Hill. Moloch, robot apartments, invisible suburbs, skeleton treasuries, blind capitals, demonic industries, spectral nations, invisible madhouses, granite cocks, monstrous bombs. They broke their backs lifting Moloch to heaven. Pavements, trees, radios, tons, lifting the city to heaven which exists and is everywhere about us. White headphones and coffee cups weave in and out at pace. A calm sense of urgency hangs in the air. The lone body makes its way into the crowd. They are of a different time and place, not part of the commuter hordes. They are a traveller, a foreigner. Footnote 3. Footnote begins. Why would an 8 or 9-year-old travel alone? Perhaps some mishap, like Macaulay Culkin's character Kevin McAllister in the 1992 film Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, in which a young white boy from an affluent upper middle class suburb in Chicago boards the wrong flight without his family and ends up in New York instead of Miami. The film subsequently follows Kevin on an adventure through the city, staying in the luxury Plaza Hotel owned by the Indian multinational Sahara India Pariwar, travelling around in a limousine and eating a plain cheese pizza. He visits a functional toy store called Duncan's Toy Chest. I have another footnote about this that I'd like to read now, footnote 3.1. Duncan's Toy Chest is based on F.A.O. Schwartz, once the oldest toy store in the United States, now owned as a brand of Toys R Us. I visited their flagship store on Fifth Avenue in New York in 1998 prior to closure and purchased a small dinosaur-like creature that stands atop the rubble of small plastic skyscrapers. When a coin is inserted, the upper body of the beast turns in jittering spurts, fading red lights flickering, simulating fire in the buildings and in the cockpit of a former helicopter grasped lightly in the hand of the toy. Part of the tail is missing, the form masculine, no genitals, a child's toy. The aforementioned Godzilla piggy bank is one of numerous items that still adorn the bedroom I share with my younger brother in our family home until the age of 18, before I moved to Dundee to go to art college. The room is now a shrine to our absence, things gathering dust, littered with the objects, totems of a preordained culture that defined and shaped me through adulthood. On increasingly infrequent visits home, I am struck, but not necessarily surprised, by the number of items relating to the United States. From age 9 till 14, my family visited on 4 occasions, 2 holidays to Florida, 1 to New York, another to Chicago and San Diego. My dad left, or more precisely was told to leave when I was around 20 years old, but his mail continued to be delivered, which my mum continued to open. One letter detailed defaulted debts of around £16,000 for the date range of our transatlantic trips, which allayed an ongoing frustration I held when growing up around sharing a room with my brother in an endowment mortgaged ex-council house. As a family, we sought happiness in the cradle of consumption, detached from a lived reality in the west coast of Scotland, underwritten by debts hidden from view. I had Disney World in a chip cable box. You had a 3-bedroom semi-detached. So I'll just reread that sentence that was the footnote for. He visits a fictional, and we're still in another footnote at the moment. He visits a fictional toy store called Duncan's Toy Chest, where he meets the philanthropic owner who donates all the money from Christmas Eve sales to a local children's home. Kevin makes a donation of money from his father's wallet and is given 2 turtle doves representing friendship as a thank you. In the meantime, he's pursued by 2 men who have recently escaped from prison after Kevin enacts a form of entrapment in the first film, resulting in their incarceration, who also intend to rob Mr. Duncan's toy store. A similar plot unfolds with Kevin becoming aware of the men's plan, and he sets a series of elaborate torturous traps in a brownstone currently under renovation owned by his family. The film culminates in the capture of the 2 men, aided by a homeless woman who Kevin befriends, and the reuniting with his mother under a Christmas tree at the Rockefeller Centre. Kevin loves Christmas trees. The child in the plaza does not travel with similar plot points. They are alone in New York, but not lost. No one looks twice at the child alone in New York, moving through the mass of the adult bodies. Presumably, it is assumed they are an actor, performing the scene in Home Alone 2, in which Kevin goes to the viewing platform of the World Trade Center, accompanied by Darlene Love's All Alone on Christmas, to be added in post-production. Someone out of the footnote, you'd be glad to hear. They feel the hegemony of the time flowing through them, compounding a sense of resolve in their isolation. They feel the isolation of the bodies in commune in this vast plaza, thinking of loved ones in the privatised and co-opted spaces of their personal lives, in apartments and bedrooms, walled fortifications of property and possession. As they make their way through the well-pressed suits and soy lattes, they briefly ponder their isolation in relation to others, formed from 2 different vantage points but still coalescing in the same word and language, a failing on the part of the author. The thought dissolves as they continue with purpose to the central point in the plaza. The Fritz Koenig comes into view, a large spherical ship in the guise of a mid-20th century bronze sculpture sitting atop a water feature. The polished, almost golden casing encapsulates black metal innards that protrude at a few points on the side and a larger extension to the base of the fountain. They continue towards the ship with a sense of relief that soon they will leave this place. Stepping up on a bench, over a planter, and into the water fountain. In the reflection of the casing, the surrounding towers are reflected back to the young traveller as skewed distortions bending towards them, the glass and steel curving around their fragile body, consuming them. And just to end on footnote 4, just want to quote some Foucault at you. From Of Other Spaces, Utopias and Heterotopias. From the standpoint of the mirror, I discover my absence from the place where I am since I see myself over there. Starting from this gaze that is, as it were, directed towards me from the ground of this virtual space that is on the other side of the glass, I come back towards myself. I begin again to direct my eyes towards myself and to reconstitute myself there where I am. Thank you.